Hello friends, welcome to Nirmal Bang. I'm Piyushan and today we are going to be talking about markets, about the flows. We actually have seen how the mutual funds data has been speaking about for the last month. Strong flows, we have seen SIP trends largely has remained unabated. The flows have remained strong. We have seen new lifetime high for the SIP inflows. Equity fund inflows have been resilient. There has been some outflows in the debt funds. We'll try and understand what is the meaning of that. Overall, again, from a perspective of very top view, the flows have been resilient. Category-wise, there have been divergent trends, even between the large cap, mid cap, and small cap funds. There have been divergent trends. The question perhaps is really to sort of decode what are these fund flows telling you, perhaps which categories actually are seeing a much higher interest, what's happening in the market. Let's try and understand from an industry expert. Let me now welcome Mr. Manoj Jain, the co-head product of White Oak AMC. Manoj, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Piyush, and thank you so much for inviting me.
So, Manoj, let's start first with sort of, I would say, not now. I would not say surprising strength because it has been many months. But I would say that there has been a lot of resilience in the SIP inflows. The recent mutual fund data from the AMFI is showing that we basically are now hitting a new high, much above 16,000 crores monthly. And also, actually, we are seeing that the share of the flows coming from the individuals versus the corporates is continuously increasing in equity AUMs. So, what do you make out of this SIP strength? And also, number two, what do you make out of this very strong interest into the equity investments?
Yes, so you rightly mentioned that it's been, a couple of months now that SIP flows are more than 15,000 rupees per month. In fact, in the month of September, they were about 16,000 rupees for the first time in the history of mutual fund industry. And this has been a trend for the last almost 3 years now. I still remember 3 years back in November 2020, I guess the net SIP flow during the month used to be less than 8,000 rupees, and now it has doubled to 16,000 rupees over the last 3 years. And you also mentioned about the lot of interest by the young investors, and that is clearly reflecting in the data that a lot of new investors are coming in mutual fund industry, and largely the credit goes to the entire distribution fraternity and the fact that a lot of efforts have been made by the industry player, by the AMC and distribution partners in popularizing the concept of mutual fund, especially the concept of SIP, and that is reflecting in the data. And what we have also observed is the fact that a lot of interest has been shown by investors in some of the categories like small cap, mid cap, and sectoral / thematic funds. So as you know, these are very volatile part of the market, both small and mid cap, as well as the sectoral thematic fund, because you are basically targeting a very narrow part of the market, and that too, which used to be more volatile as compared to, let's say, large cap or flexi cap strategies or diversified strategies. So yeah, I think जो mood है ना, जो देख flows को देख के लगता है, if you look at flows over the last 6 months, over the last 2 years, वो थोड़ा aggressive strategies की तरफ ज़्यादा flows का रुझान देखा गया है.
But how actually, I'm just picking up on your aggressive word. अगर ऐसा देखेंगे तो हम ये भी देख रहे हैं कि लार्ज कैप फंड्स में थोड़ा शिफ्ट है. लार्ज कैप से पैसा या तो निकल रहा है और मिड कैप स्मॉल कैप्स में जा रहा है. दिस इज डिस्पाइट द फैक्ट दैट मिड कैप स्मॉल कैप फंड्स हैड अ वेरी स्ट्रॉन्ग रन. एंड आइडियली हम लोग टॉप व्यू से बात करते हैं कि अब तो लार्ज कैप फंड्स का टाइम है, वैल्यूएशन उनकी तरफ ज्यादा अच्छा पोजिशनड है. डिस्पाइट द फैक्ट हम देख रहे हैं कि मिड कैप और स्मॉल कैप फंड्स में रिटर्न चेजिंग का ट्रेंड कंटिन्यू कर रहा है. So what this data is telling you?
Yeah, so you're right. Data भी अपने को यही बताता है, but I'll just set the context. मैं आपको कुछ data बताता हूँ, and which is not new for you, but maybe for your listener, एक perspective क्या है कि let's say 2 years back, we are talking about October 2021. Nifty used to be around 18,500 approximately. Let's say 18,500. Okay, and then it peaked out and it corrected and it recovered back. Today, as we're speaking right now, it is about 19,500 or something. So over the last 2 years, okay, when we are talking about Nifty 50, we are talking about large cap segment of the market. So over the last 2 years, on an absolute terms basis, Nifty 50 has generated something like 5-6% return. and on a CAGR basis, less than 3% CAGR. So we have seen many times, this trend that a category or a particular theme जो अच्छा नहीं करती recently, people tend to redeem money after a couple of years. तो अगर एक कोई थीम 2 साल तक भी अच्छा नहीं करती, तो people tend to redeem money. And the theme,
पेशेंस कम हो जाता
हाँ,
है।
पेशेंस कम हो जाता है, बिल्कुल ठीक है आपने। 2-3 साल में 2 साल में लोगों के पेशेंस टेस्ट होने लग जाते हैं। एंड आपकी बात से मैं एग्री करता हूँ, ऑन अ रिलेटिव बेसिस, incrementally, if you have to choose between small cap, mid cap, large cap, and you are already adequately invested in small and mid cap, and you have incremental money to put in equity, I think incrementally it makes sense to go towards large cap at this point of time, because the kind of run up small and mid cap has delivered, especially the micro cap segment, or let's say smaller small cap segment. I think if somebody is investing in this category at this point of time incrementally, they should be aware of two things: that over the next 3 years, their return expectation should be moderate. You cannot expect the kind of return they have generated over the last 1 year or 3 years. That should not be your base case scenario, and you should expect a lot of volatility going forward. As long as you are okay with this kind of expected volatility, which is expected to go up in near future, and the kind of moderate return possibility from here onward, and if you're okay putting incremental money, if at all there's a lot of volatility in this segment, and I think then you are good to invest in this segment. Otherwise, if you're over invested in this segment, I think it makes a lot of sense to put incremental money in large cap. But हमने हमेशा देखा है कि जो कैटेगरी बहुत अच्छा करती है, जो सेगमेंट या जो थीम बहुत अच्छा करती है, इट अट्रैक्ट्स लॉट ऑफ न्यू इन्वेस्टर्स, which obviously is counterintuitive, but ऐसा तो होता ही रहता है.
अगर ये देखेंगे, and then actually if we are going to see the trend, we have been seeing that debt funds, actually there have been outflows from debt funds. We also know that largely corporates actually form a much larger part when we're talking about debt mutual funds and equity funds. Retail, actually the share of retail's investments is increasing at a much faster pace. Why there has been outflows in debt funds?
So जैसे एक तो होता है क्वार्टर एंडिंग फिनोमेना होता है कि क्वार्टर एंडिंग में टिपिकली लॉट ऑफ ट्रेजरी दे रिडीम मनी, एंड दैट मनी कम्स बैक, लेट्स से विद द वेरी नेक्स्ट वन. तो अभी अक्टूबर में निकल गया पैसा, नवंबर मतलब सितंबर एंड में पैसा निकला और अक्टूबर में वापस रहेगा.
So like the quarter ending, so basically money again shows up and then goes back into investments.
हाँ जी, तो ये तो क्या एक ट्रेंड. बट अगर आप इस ट्रेंड को साइड में रख के देखें, पिछले 6 महीने का ट्रेंड देखते हैं. ओके, FYTD ट्रेंड देखते हैं, फाइनेंशियल ईयर में अभी तक 6 महीने हमारे बीत चुके हैं, क्या ट्रेंड रहा है. तो बारिंग लेट्स से जो बहुत ही शॉर्ट टर्म सरप्लस पार्किंग के लिए लोग लिक्विड में, ओवरनाइट में, अल्ट्रा शॉर्ट टर्म, लो ड्यूरेशन कैटेगरी में पैसे डालते हैं, अगर उसको साइड में रखते हैं, बिकॉज वहाँ पे क्या होता है, आपके पास सरप्लस मनी होती है, तो यू पार्क फॉर सम टाइम एंड देन यू रिडीम फॉर दैट मनी व्हेनेवर यू रिक्वायर. तो जो लॉन्ग ड्यूरेशन डेट फंड्स होते थे, जहाँ पे पीपल यूज टू इन्वेस्ट फॉर 3 years 4 years मे बी, कोर डेट इन्वेस्टमेंट, जैसे मीडियम ड्यूरेशन फंड्स हो गए, ओके, बैंकिंग PSU हो गया, कॉर्पोरेट बॉन्ड फंड हो गया, क्रेडिट रिस्क फंड हो गया. इफ यू लुक एट दिस सेगमेंट, which used to be the segment where bulk of the retail money used to go, and that too 3 year plus money used to go, वहां पे net आपके outflows है. So FYTD in this segment which we just discussed, which is a long term core debt holding, वहां पे आपका net flows negative है, and it makes sense because as you are aware from 1st April onward, अभी जो नए tax laws हैं, if you are investing incremental money in debt mutual funds, even if you stay invested for 3 year 5 year 10 year, you are now you are not eligible for indexation benefit, or long term capital gain की definition अभी change हो गई. Only those funds which invest more than 35% in domestic equity are now eligible for indexation benefit, and hence incrementally वो जो charm था, तो if I tell you that, okay, इस फंड के अंदर शायद आपको 8% रिटर्न बन जाएगा, बिकॉज म्यूचुअल फंड में नथिंग इज गारंटीड, ओके, तो यू कैन नॉट से इसमें 7 भी बन जाएगा, 6 भी बन जाएगा विद गारंटी. इफ आई टेल यू दैट दिस फंड इज केपेबल ऑफ जनरेटिंग 8% CAGR return over the next 3 years versus let's say bank which is very safe, which is kind of guaranteed, is giving you 7.5. So now most people are now preferring with higher certainty, which some of the other instruments are providing, because otherwise people used to invest in debt because there used to be a huge taxation arbitrage which has been taken away in this budget. So I think it is logical to see, I find it very logical that today people are not finding debt as much attractive as they used to find, let's say, before April.
Right, and from that perspective, let's also discuss thematic funds. There has been a sort of good pertinent interest in multi-cap funds, hybrid funds, and we were talking about multi-cap funds. So, what's your view there right now?
तो देखिए, मैं आपको एक थोड़ा बैकग्राउंड बताता हूँ. मतलब अगेन इट इज नॉट न्यू फॉर यू, बट मे बी फॉर सम ऑफ द लिसनर्स. So before recategorization of all these schemes in 2018, uh, we know that earlier there was no concept of multi-cap versus flexi-cap. Okay, so but after recategorization and later on, SEBI came up with this concept that there should be two categories. One is flexi-cap and second is multi-cap. So if you are saying my fund is multi-cap, you better be multi-cap. You invest at least 25% in large cap, mid cap, and small cap each, so that you can actually call yourself a multi-cap. Because what
Multi-cap.
happened? हाँ, बिकॉज आप देखिए जितने भी फ्लेक्सी कैप फंड्स हैं इंडस्ट्री में, बारिंग फ्यू, जैसे हम भी एक फ्लेक्सी कैप फंड चलाते हैं वाइट ओक में, बट बारिंग फ्यू, most of the flexi cap fund in the industry are keeping somewhere between 70 to 80% large cap holding. Okay, most of them. So they are more like, they act more like a large cap fund. Now you cannot complain also, because BSC 500, which is the benchmark of a flexi cap fund, even BSC 500 has almost 75% weightage to large cap. So if say a fund manager is keeping 75% large cap, well within his right, he is saying, okay, benchmark maybe 75% large cap hai, so I am also keeping large cap. So, but as we discussed just now, the larger interest by the investors, and especially the younger investor, first time investors, are towards small and mid cap. तो अच्छा, फ्लेक्सी कैप तो चलो 75 ज्यादातर लोग रख रहे हैं, तो फिर वो कौन सी कैटेगरी है जहाँ पे यू कैन पार्टिसिपेट इन ईच ऑफ द मार्केट कैपिटलाइजेशन विद स्लाइटली बेटर allocation to small and mid cap? तो आती है मल्टी कैप, बिकॉज मल्टी कैप एटलीस्ट कीप 50% small and mid cap, and for all the practical purposes they keep, let's say, 55 to 60% small and mid cap, because you don't want to keep exactly 25% small cap, exactly 25% mid cap. So a multi cap category which is investing, let's say, about 55% small and mid cap, that become obvious choice for somebody who otherwise want to participate in all the category or the market capitalization, but is not finding flexi cap true to the nature. Okay, so I think the fact that people are moving towards, at least recently, people are moving towards slightly aggressive strategy is also reflecting in new launches in multi-cap category, and the fact that they are also becoming really popular. Now, to answer your second question about the hybrid category, I think one of the very interesting category which has evolved over the last 6 months is the multi-asset allocation category. And I'll tell you, we just discussed that there is a lot of outflow from long-dated debt mutual funds after this taxation change. I think ये जो नई कैटेगरी इवॉल्व होती जा रही है, मल्टी एसेट एलोकेशन फंड, ये उस अगर ठीक से मैनेज किया जाए, अगर उसका स्ट्रक्चर ठीक से बनाया जाए, तो वो जो लोग डेट में इन्वेस्टमेंट किया करते थे विद 3 year plus इन्वेस्टमेंट होराइजन एंड स्टिल लुकिंग फॉर ए प्रोडक्ट विच इज कंजर्वेटिव इनफ so that it should not give you -10, -20% kind of return over the period. At the same time, can deliver you very decent tax efficient return. So I think multi asset एक ऐसी कैटेगरी है जो पिछले 6 महीने में आपने बहुत ट्रैक्शन देखा है. आने वाले 1 साल में मेरा ऐसा मानना है कि बहुत से और फंड हाउसेज मल्टी एसेट कैटेगरी में, मल्टी एसेट एलोकेशन कैटेगरी में फंड्स लेके आएंगे. अगर इसको कंजर्वेटिवली मैनेज किया जाए, because regulator क्या कहता है मल्टी एसेट एलोकेशन कैटेगरी में, that you have to allocate minimum 10% in equity, minimum 10% in debt, and minimum 10% in commodity like gold. तो अब क्योंकि इतना वाइड डेफिनेशन है, so some people are running 80% equity, okay, some people are running, let's say, 35% equity. Okay. So I think for those investors who are looking for alternative via mutual fund, tax efficient alternative to their core debt holding with 3 year plus time horizon, conservative multi-asset allocation fund can be a solution, and that is reflecting in data also. Today, whatever flows are coming in hybrid category over the last 6 months, again we are talking about FITD, they are largely in arbitrage category. Okay, out of some 62,000 crore rupees net flows in hybrid category, about 43,000 crore rupees.
This arbitrage preference is also because now the preference for debt has gone down. Arbitrage is seen actually a better choice also.
Yeah, so that's why a large that money looking for stable return and tax efficient return is moving towards hybrid category like arbitrage. I just mentioned, bulk of the money in hybrid category is coming in arbitrage, followed by categories like multi-asset allocation fund or let's say equity savings slash balance advantage fund. So yeah, I strongly believe hybrid category वैसे भी बहुत पॉपुलर हो चुकी है पिछले कुछ सालों में because of balance advantage fund coming in the picture, and आगे जाके because of this new emergence of multi-asset allocation fund category मुझको लगता है बहुत इंटरेस्टिंग होती जाएगी गिवन द फैक्ट कि अब डेट की अट्रैक्टिवनेस भी टैक्स आर्बिट्राज की वजह से कम होती जा रही है.
Right, and I was also looking at the data, which was clearly showing that uh, on one side we talk about the young millennials who actually are the young employed, are investors who are opening accounts, investing into the markets. Usually, they are considered to be in Hyderabad, Pune, or the top 30 locations as we talk about. But the data is also telling you that actually cities beyond these top 30 locations, there actually the growth in the equity funds or equity investments actually is happening at a much faster location than the top 30 cities. So is that telling you that basically on a consistent basis, the equity investment culture has matured out, and now actually we are seeing a very firm trend of investing into equity investment class?
So I'll just share you two perspectives. First of all, I'm very happy to see that even after the fact that market hasn't delivered good return over the last couple of years. I mean, I'm talking about the broader market. Let's say talk about Nifty, Sensex, or large cap market. Despite the fact that Nifty hasn't delivered very good return. I mean, the returns are very pathetic to say if you compare with the average return you would expect from Nifty to deliver. Still, the SIP flows are trending positive. Secondly, we have seen market correcting by almost 15% from the peak during last couple of years, from October, peaked in October 2021, and then bottomed out in June 2022. But despite the fact we have seen consistent inflow and SIP book is increasing. Having said that, so this is the good part. But having said that, the point is whatever interest we have seen post COVID in the mutual fund products, or let's say equity per se, because as you are aware, and the daily trading volume in derivative market has skyrocketed. It is multi-year high, all-time high as compared to other country. We are like, मतलब हमारा तो कंपेरेबल ही नहीं, इतने हाई पहुंच चुके हैं. अब क्या हो गया कि जून, ओके, तो मार्च अप्रैल 2020 के बाद से अभी तक 3.5 सालों में हमने अभी तक कोई भी 20, 30, 40% मार्केट में फॉल नहीं देखा है. So we don't know if there is a 20, 30, 40% fall. Now that can happen for any reason that we cannot predict right now. But if that happens, because that can happen anytime, पिछले 30-40 साल की आप हिस्ट्री उठा के देखोगे तो कोई ना कोई इवेंट होता है जिस which trigger that 20, 30, 40% correction which we can predict in advance. But अगर वो ऐसा कोई correction आता है which is reasonable price correction, या फिर एक और जो चीज हमने देखी है कि अभी तक हमने एक लंबा टाइम करेक्शन नहीं देखा. तो जैसे SIP बुक यूज्ड टू बी 3 years बैक लेस देन 8,000 रुपीज, नाउ इट इज 16,000 रुपीज, तो डबल हो गया. इन इन्वेस्टर्स ने कोई भी 2-3 साल का पॉज नहीं देखा है. तो जैसे 2010 से लेकर 13 तक 3 साल तक रिटर्न ही नहीं बने थे. तो ये तो इक्विटी मार्केट में कभी भी हो सकता है कि 3 साल तक रिटर्न ना बने, या फिर कोई 40% का फॉल है. तब क्या ये ट्रेंड रह पाएगा, ये क्वेश्चन मार्क है. आई डोंट हैव आंसर राइट नाउ. हिस्टोरिकली हमने देखा है कि ट्रेंड चेंज हो जाता था. तो नेट बायर्स बिकम नेट सेलर और न्यू इन्वेस्टर्स आर द वन जो जल्दी पैसे निकालते हैं. बट अभी तक ये ट्रेंड बहुत स्ट्रांग है, और अगर ये ट्रेंड बना रहा तो आई थिंक इट विल बी वेरी गुड फॉर आवर कॉर्पोरेट वर्ल्ड ऑल्सो, बिकॉज ऐसा नई रिस्क कैपिटल जब आती है तो कॉर्पोरेट वर्ल्ड बूम करता है, जीडीपी भी बहुत तेजी से बढ़ती है.
और हमने ये भी देखा है कि because of this and the strong appetite, we have seen so many IPOs, so many sort of new companies getting listed and absorbing the incremental money. But combining all of that, which you've discussed, and if you actually want to combine everything and then sort of make a conclusion, how's the last 3-4 month data telling you? Like, is everything very buoyant? The underlying equity investment team. You're meeting your clients, so people around the country. What's the feeling you're getting?
Yeah, so investor sentiments we all know that is reflecting data, because as I told you that like in last month also 1/3 of the SIPs new SIPs are coming in small cap segment. Okay, and let's say if you add mid cap also, 45% of the new SIPs are coming in small and mid cap. If you add thematic funds also, sectoral funds also, then almost 60% of the new SIPs in equity are coming in these three volatile segments. So ये मतलब आपको बताता है कि investors are very optimistic, and that's why they want to make the best of this opportunity and want to allocate in categories जिनको बोलते हैं हाई बीटा कैटेगरीज हैं, मतलब मार्केट 10% बढ़ेगी तो ये 15% बढ़ेंगे, बट वाइज वर्सा भी होता है. तो इन्वेस्टर सेंटीमेंट तो बहुत पॉजिटिव है. सेकेंड, एज यू ऑल्सो मेंशन, बहुत सारे आईपीओज आ रहे हैं, दैट ऑल्सो शोज कि दे आर ऑल्सो ट्राइंग टू बेनिफिट आउट ऑफ दिस सेंटीमेंट कि भाई दिस इज द बेस्ट टाइम टू रेज फंड. बट ये सब जो चीजें हैं, जो भी हम फ्लोज का डेटा देखते हैं, ये सारे इंडिकेटर्स देखते हैं, एफ एंड ओ मार्केट की एक्टिविटी देखते हैं, जर्नल इंटरेस्ट देखते हैं, ये सब में एक चीज जो हम सबको एडवाइस करना चाहते हैं कि भाई एट द एंड ऑफ द डे यू हैव टू फॉलो योर एसेट एलोकेशन. तो बड़ा मुश्किल होता है एक्सट्रीम के ऊपर एसेट एलोकेशन को फॉलो करना. एसेट एलोकेशन के बारे में बात करना बहुत आसान होता है.
I'll try to jump in between. अगर मैं आपसे पूछूं तभी एसेट एलोकेशन में आपका प्रेफरेंस क्या होगा?
Sorry, Piyush, I missed you in between. I think there was.
So I'm saying if I jump in between and if I ask you, what would be your asset allocation, whether it is between within equity or debt, like what would be your ideal allocation?
So I'll give you one answer, which is generic answer for everybody. I think आपको एक अपनी स्ट्रेटेजिक एसेट एलोकेशन बनानी पड़ेगी. इट कैन बी लेट्स से 80% equity and 20% debt for me because I'm aggressive. It can be 60% equity and 40% debt for somebody else. So today is not the time that you should be overweight in equity, especially in small and mid cap segment, micro cap segment. So if you are somebody whose asset allocation, strategic asset allocation used to be 60% equity, 40% debt, today you are sitting at 70% equity. I think incremental money should go to slightly conservative asset class, like some of the hybrid strategy, multi-asset allocation strategy, etc., so that you can reach back to your strategic asset allocation. At the same time, if you are somebody who's very, very overweight in small cap, micro cap, I think this is the good time that you start cutting some of your position. At least incremental money should not go to small cap segment. So Piyush, मैं कैसे मैनेज करता हूँ अपनी एसेट लोकेशन? आई टिपिकली स्टिक अराउंड विद माय स्ट्रेटेजिक एसेट लोकेशन. जब भी मुझे लगता है वैल्यूएशन काफी चीप हो गई है, तो लेट्स से फ्रॉम 80 आई मूव टू 90, और जब भी मुझे लगता है बहुत महंगी हो गई है, फ्रॉम 80 आई मूव टू 70. आई थिंक ब्रॉडली मैं इसी रेंज में रहता हूँ. मैं बहुत ज्यादा चेंज नहीं करता कि भाई बहुत महंगा लग रहा है तो 0% चले गए, बहुत सस्ता लग रहा है तो 100% चले गए, बिकॉज आई स्ट्रांगली बिलीव इट इज इम्पॉसिबल कि आप 0 और 1 की गेम खेलो, एंड दैट इज वन ऑफ द रीजन व्हाई पीपल लूज मनी. आई थिंक आप अपनी स्ट्रेटेजिक एसेट एलोकेशन के आसपास रहिए, but now it is not the time that you should be very, very overweight. But at the same time, if your equity allocation is towards the large cap, you don't have to worry about, you don't have to cut down a lot of equity from your portfolio. That's what I believe.
Sure. So perhaps I think we'll try and get those insights into the behavior. I think I'm very sure the viewers would have actually noted that. And it has been an exciting September month, and let's hope the second half of this year also actually remains as exciting from perspective of number of folios, from the perspective of SIP flows, from the perspective of overall market inflows. With that wish, we actually would like to thank you, Manuji, for coming on the show and giving us all the insights on the mutual fund trends.
Thanks to you also and your team for inviting me. Thank you so much. All the very best.
And dear viewers, hope you learned from this conversation and enjoyed understanding the mutual fund markets. For now, it's a wrap on this conversation.
Subscribe to our YouTube channel and click on the bell icon to never miss an update from Nirmal Bang.